presidential order to lift the blockade by Assam of its highway and railway. Alarming COVID surge in Kerala alerts the centre. Rushes 6-member panel to take stock of the situation. BJP blames appeasement for the surge. Well, with that big breaking news which is coming in ahead of the 2022 UP elections, BJP sources are telling Times Now that the party will be facing UP elections under Yogi Adityanath's leadership. He will be combining to be the chief minister to be the CM face, and that's how they are going to be going in for polls as well. So we are still awaiting, remember, for an official word from the BJP top brass if they are going to project a face ahead of the UP polls. Remember, they need not do that. They hadn't last time around. Only after the elections were won was a face being projected. Let me go across to Megha Prasad, who's joining us with all the details, our senior editor. Megha, we've seen in several of the states BJP has gone into polls without having projected a face for the chief ministerial post. Do we expect some kind of a confirmation coming in from the top brass? Of course, there are already sources telling us that they are quite certain it's going to be Yogi.
Well, a confirmation, I think an official one would come very close to the polls. It would not happen right now. So this is what we are breaking right now, of course, is reliable information shared with us, which tells you that the BJP has made up its mind that the party is clear about one thing, that they will be facing the upcoming UP elections under Yogi Adityanath. There will be no change. And why is this significant, Meghna? Is because BJP usually is not in a habit to do so. They are, the last election you saw where they have a BJP chief minister right now was Assam. And in Assam also you saw how the BJP dilly-dallied, did not give out a name, did not fight the elections under Sonowal like they had done last time around. And then, of course, later on you had a new person taking over, replacing Mr. Sonowal, even when the BJP had come back to power in that state. So going by such experiences, BJP usually will not be, usually they do not give out names just like that before, and they basically just fight the election together as a party under the leadership of the Prime Minister, not any specific person. But here in Uttar Pradesh, we can now confirm to you through top party sources that Yogi Adityanath will be the face as the next chief minister of Uttar Pradesh if BJP is able to retain power in the state. The party has made its mind very clear, and this after all the turbulence that you saw in the last 2 to 3 months, and you saw intervention from the top functionaries of the RSS, too many meetings, Yogi having to come down and meet the Prime Minister and Home Minister here. Despite all of that, I think the clarity is there in the mind of those sitting in top positions of the party and the government that it will be Yogi Adityanath under whom they will be fighting the next election.
Well, it does seem certain, as Megha tells us. However, we'll have to wait and see if there is any official announcement that they are willing to make, which, as Megha again points out, traditionally hasn't been the case with the BJP. Thank you so much for the timing. With that, let's move on in the bulletin. Our focus goes across to an interesting meeting which was held by China. Now, this was a virtual meeting, a centenary celebration of the Communist Party of China. Remember, all of this in the midst of China and the posturing that it has done at India's border, also the way it has been provoking not just Pakistan but also Taliban, backing it and appeasing it. In the midst of it all, who was present in this virtual meeting? Well, D. Raja and Sitaram Yechuri, two very senior leaders of the left parties in India. Now, questions are being raised by the BJP. They are asking why, at a time when the government is already caught in a border dispute with them, that the two left leaders had to be part of this celebration. And more importantly, they ask if they had raised these issues and concerns regarding the way China has been aggressive at the borders of India, and if they had complained about human rights violation by the Chinese in their own territory. Listen in to what D. Raja had to say, CPI leader, to Times Now.
I'm joined in by D. Raja. Sir, you've had a webinar with the Chinese embassy and a few days back. What was that webinar all about, and what was the need of that webinar when there is conflict between the two nations?
Communist Party of China has been organizing many discussions, seminars in order to commemorate the centenary of its foundation. There was a World Summit of Communist Party of China and political parties across the world. More than 500 parties took part in that World Summit also. Here, the ambassador organized a Zoom meeting. It is not that only CPI, CPM participated. All India Forward Bloc was there. DMK representative was there. Maybe several others would have been there. I could see all these representatives. So, what is big issue about this? A section of media is trying to spread misinformation, and what is they must ask straightforward question. Yes, we are present in that Zoom meeting, and we talk to them. How can they say we cannot talk to them? And both India and China continue to engage themselves in a dialogue.
I'll put forward that straight question that you're asking. As of now, India and China are having a fallout at the border. There is disengagement also happening at a few places. But then there is the conflict still that is on. There is
Everybody knows.
Despite all of this, you are having engagement.
Everybody knows there is conflict, there is dispute. Anybody rejected that? Everybody, both sides agree there is dispute. But does military action or war is solution, can be a solution? Then peace is the solution. Dialogue is the only way. And both countries have agreed to engage themselves in a meaningful dialogue. That's why time to time at different levels talks are going on. And government of India has not broken every relation with China. Very recently, our Defense Minister Rajnath Singh was participating in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and he was articulating what he had to say. So this is what we should understand. After all, that party, Communist Party of China, has completed 100 years. It is not a small thing. Now they are trying to build socialism with Chinese characteristics. As per their claim, they are trying to take their country forward to moderately prosperous nation.
Communist Party of China is celebrating their centenary of its foundation.
Okay.
So the party is having party-to-party relation with the Communist Party of China, is constantly having contacts and sharing their experience between each party. In India, BJP is also having party-to-party relation with the CPC and Congress also there.
Yes, sir, but
So,
given the situation, do you really think, because we have seen that
I can't understand what is the situation. Whether India is engaged with a war with China now?
No, but sir, the
Or the
Galwan...
people of India is having a war with the Chinese people?
No, but the Galwan violence that took place, after that we have seen that the left party has not also condemned the whole incident, the violence that took place at the borders, and then indulging...
No, whatever may be the tension coming in the border between India and China, whatever may be the provocation from either Indian side or Chinese side, whatever may be, that is of course Indian political parties are condemning it. And we are trying for de-escalating the tension.
But sir, condemning on one part and then being part of such events, isn't that double standard is what is being alleged?
It is nothing that you see, we are having a talk with the Chinese people or having a talk with the Chinese Communist Party has nothing to do with this border dispute. That is different. That you have to handle through diplomatically and politically.
Nothing should be done to which harms the national interest. CPM's extraterritorial loyalties had come to the fore earlier also, but when an issue of national security is involved, every party should follow the principle of upholding national security.
this should be upheld, because they are accusing BJP of having ties with Communist China Party when
Nobody
the question is asked.
nobody will believe such allegation.
बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है कि कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ चाइना के साथ में लेफ्ट पार्टी के नेताओं ने वेबिनार पर शिरकत की है। ये देश के साथ वो पहले तय करें कि वो किसके साथ है, चाइना के साथ है कि देश के साथ है। देश के साथ विश्वासघात है। इस प्रकार के वेबिनार में जुड़ना, कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी ऑफ चाइना के साथ जुड़ना, ये देश के लिए, देश की जनता के लिए और देश के आगे के भविष्य के लिए खराब है। इन सबको एक्सपोज होना चाहिए। आखिर इनके हित चाइना से सधने वाले हैं, भारत में रहेंगे और हित चाइना से साधेंगे, ये कहाँ तक उचित है?
Try to make it normal. Discussion is part of making normal discussion, not the war. It's a long solution. Discussion is also part of political discourse, discussions. So don't be afraid of discussions. Talk to anybody and be Indian in the true sense.
Same with the Pakistan.
Talk to everybody. Peace is the answer, not the war.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Peace is the answer.
चीन की शताब्दी हो रही, उसी की बात हमें उनको शुक्रिया करना चाहिए, लेकिन उनके उत्सव में भागीदारी लेना और देश की भारतीय परंपरा, संस्कृति, गौरव का स्वीकार करना ये कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी हमेशा करता है। जब चीन का भारत का लड़ाई हुआ तो उन्होंने स्लोगन दिया, भारत चीन का आक्रमण किया है। चीन चेयरमैन, हमारा चेयरमैन ऐसा बोलते हैं, वियतनाम भूल या वो बाबा नाम भूल ना, वियतनाम बाप का नाम भूलने के लिए तैयार थे ये लोग, वियतनाम का नहीं भूलने वाला। इस प्रकार निष्ठा इनका हमेशा बाहर रहा है, आज भी वही है। इसलिए परिणाम ये हो रहा कि कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी भारत से धीरे धीरे साफ हो रही है। मेरा संदेश है कि भारत का कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी नहीं है, भारतीय कम्युनिस्ट पार्टी होनी चाहिए।
Well, we are going to be tracking the developments on that front very closely. But remember, backing Beijing, not Bharat, is something which has been one of the biggest attacks which have been made on these left leaders. So let me go across to Madhav Das Gopalakrishnan, who's joining us, a senior editor. Madhav, you must set up the context of the centenary celebrations of the China. This comes, isn't it, at a time when the certain lobby in India has been accusing the current government of impinging on its democratic rights. On the other hand, you have China not just thundering at our borders, but also carrying out rampant human rights violations which have happened. Well, looks like we've lost that audio connection with Madhav. We'll go back to him in a bit and get you more updates. This is, of course, one of the burning debates today. But for the timing, a short break. Don't go anywhere. that, big breaking news which is coming in. These are the visuals that are coming in regarding constable of the Delhi police who's been arrested in a murder case after a shocking mobile phone visual became viral that you can see on your screens. In fact, the constable that you can see in your screens, Monu Sirohi, along with his friends, can be seen beating a man. These allegations are that when the family members of Ajit had gone to New Ashok Nagar to lodge a police complaint, the SHO didn't file a kidnapping case and pursued the complaint seriously. He was then later suspended. In fact, Monu Sirohi allegedly now has been arrested. Let me go across to Bhavtosh, who's joining us with more details on this. Bhavtosh, this is a very serious visuals that we are seeing because these are supposed to be the protectors. They cannot be the tormentors of the people of Delhi.
Yes, in fact, very shocking visuals. Monu Sirohi is a constable who, in fact, was assaulting Ajit. He, in fact, can be seen in this visual, which has now become viral. According to the police, Monu Sirohi attacked Ajit, who is deceased in this case. Ajit's family then went to New Ashok Nagar police station. Instead of lodging the complaint, the station house officer of this case told them not to come to the police station. He never filed a case of kidnapping. The SHO has now been suspended by the Joint Commissioner of the Police and also by the DCP, and an inquiry has been ordered against him. Monu Sirohi has been arrested in this case. He in fact wanted to dump the body, and he went to Gangnahar, which is on the outskirts of Delhi. He dumped the body along with his friends. Police has arrested Monu Sirohi in this case and has booked him under various sections of IPC, including that of murder.
Well, keep trying the developments on that front. Of course, there is visual evidence also which is available against this officer, which is why hopefully this is going to be a case where we see some kind of justice at least in death. Thank you so much, Bhavtosh. But with that, let's move on the bulletin and talk about the disturbing cloudburst which had happened in Jammu and Kashmir and in Kargil. In fact, we are telling you how rescue relief operations continued because several people were reported to be missing. As you can see on your screens, the rescue relief operators were there helping out all the people. In fact, in the last 24 hours after the cloudburst in the Gulabgarh area of Kishtwar district, at least 9 people unfortunately have already lost their lives. There have been multiple flooding instances also which have been coming to light. As many as 19 people are still missing, which is why these NDRF men are trying their best to try and reach out to those people who are still trapped and to rescue them.
ये कोई 8 बजे का टाइम था जिस वक्त ये खौफनाक यहाँ ये सैलाब आया। उसी मंजर में यहाँ बहुत सी कैजुअल्टी हुई हैं, जिसमें हमारे बहुत सारे रिश्तेदार जो मारे गए हैं इस दुखद हादसे में। इसमें हम अल्लाह की तरफ से यही कहेंगे कि ये अल्लाह की तरफ से नागहानी आफत थी।
शाम को 8 बजे बैठे हुए थे घर में, अचानक बारिश शुरू हुई। बारिश शुरू होने के बाद एक थोड़ा झटका सा महसूस हुआ, तो हम बाहर निकले, देखा तो यहाँ जो पीछे नदी नाला है, एक मतलब भारी गोला उस पर बरसा। तो हमें कुछ समझ नहीं आया हम क्या करें। फिर हम बाहर निकले तो देखा तो बहुत सारे आदमी जो है वो उसमें बह रहे थे, नदी नाले में बह रहे थे। हम निकालने की कोशिश कर रहे थे, हमने बहुत सारों को रेस्क्यू भी किया, लेकिन हम खुद भी फिर इंजर्ड हुए और हम मतलब फिर मुश्किल से वहाँ से फिर निकल पड़े।
Situation in Honsur village in Dachin Tehsil of Kishtwar district continues to remain grim. Even after 36 hours, rescue operation continues. Several bodies have been recovered. Still, more than 20 people are said to be missing. They are seen to be buried under debris. Senior officers are there on spot. Besides this, NDRF, police and army units, they're working in tandem, trying to save as many lives as they can. That is the first and the foremost priority before them. Meanwhile, Divisional Commissioner along with ADG Mukesh Singh, they have rushed to spot to assess situation there on ground. Government has issued advisory asking people not to move towards areas which are closer to streams, as because of flash flood many of the streams have already swelled, and during the last 36 hours there had been 5 instances of cloudbursts. One was in Bandipur area, 2 cloudburst instances in Kargil district, and One was near Amarnath cave shrine, and one has been in Hunsar area. Hunsar area has been worst affected. Almost the whole village is flattened because of the gushing stream of water that was triggered by cloudburst in that area. Many of the people were caught unaware. They were sleeping. They had no idea when all of a sudden water flew through their houses and whole area was flattened within just 15 to 20 minutes. Many people are undergoing treatment in hospital. Why the administration is facing lot many problems? A reason being that this is one of the remotest areas where there is no road connectivity. Because of absence of road connectivity and communication, rescue team took some time to reach to that place. And now because of the weather, inclement weather condition also, helicopter has not been able to reach. That's one of the reasons that injured are to be shifted by track to different hospitals. Those who are critically injured are taken to district hospital Kishtwar, and some of them will be taken to Government Medical College Hospital here in Jammu. Meanwhile, Centre is monitoring situation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while offering condolence to grief-stricken family members, assured of all sorts of help to the people there in Kishtwar and Kargil district. Meanwhile, Centre is trying to also assist Union Territory administration and government in this regard. You can see that here also, in many of these areas in Jammu, nalas and streams are swollen. The gushing water is coming down. There had been several instances where the people got trapped. Administration had to push in police officers and cops into service to get those people out of these streams whenever they got trapped. One person died in Rajouri area also. Still, water is flowing above danger mark. So administration has asked people not to move towards hilly terrain because there can be chances of landslides and mudslide. Besides this, people have also been asked to stay away from streams and rivers because of flash flood. Third thing is that people had been also instructed, those who are putting up in low-lying area, to move towards safer places. Despite frequent instructions through loudspeakers, many people still continue to stay put on areas where there is a lot of danger because of flash flood. But administration right now is trying its level best to ensure that people are evacuated to safer places so nobody faces problem. Similar is the situation in Himachal area also, because more than 21 people have died during last 36 hours alone. So administration is taking all sorts of measures. People have been asked to stay indoors or not move towards these areas where there are chances of flash flood.
Well, we'll keep getting you these ground reports of rescue relief operations which are being carried out. But for the timing, a short break. Don't go anywhere. Well, Buddha, there is some big breaking news which is coming in. Piyush Goyal and Prahlad Joshi are meeting opposition leaders in Mallikarjun Kharge's room in the parliament to look for a possible solution to the impasse. Well, remember, there has been a parliament logjam that we have seen over Pegasus, which has continued for today being the 9th day running, which is why this is very disturbing, because questions are now being raised as to why the parliament's business has not been conducted, because there are these several disruptions which have been carried out by the opposition MPs. So let me go across to Megha Prasad, who is joining us. Megha, in the morning also there was a similar meeting, wasn't it, with Piyush Goyal. Even then there were certain overtures which were being made by the central government to get the opposition parties on board to at least allow the house to function. But at that time there was no resolution. Do we expect a resolution or at least some kind of a consensus this time around?
Well, to be very honest with you, looks very difficult because the sticking point is Pegasus, and both sides have firm position on the issue. As far as government is concerned, it's very, very clear that they do not wish to go in for a full-blown discussion on the issue of Pegasus, that the concerned minister has made a suo motu statement both in the lower and the upper house, and that should suffice the issue. As long as the government has maintaining that there was no unauthorized tapping, there is no need for a discussion. So that's one. But let me also just quickly add here that we did have a word with the IT minister. This when the meeting was on. The meeting's just gotten over. The meeting was on at that time, and we met Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav, and he said, I'm ready for just about anything. If the government feels that we can go ahead and have a discussion, well, I'll be ready. If we think that there is a need for another round of statement that needs to be delivered, even that is going to be possible. We need to, of course, take a final decision on that. But as far as the opposition is concerned, Meghna, the opposition says that we will not relent till the time you have a discussion in the House, that too in the presence of the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, Amit Shah. They should be there in the House, especially for the Home Minister, to answer questions. Now, is the government going to be ready to do that? Looks unlikely. Is the opposition going to relent on this demand? Looks unlikely. And that is why my answer to you, Meghna, that, though the government is trying their best, on the issue, on several of these issues. Pegasus is one, price rise is another, farmer is third. But the point is, I think, where the problem actually lies is Pegasus. And in the morning, you're right, Mr. Piyush Goyal did, try to reach out to the opposition floor leaders. Again, he did it in the afternoon some time back. But let's wait and see what comes out of it. Sometime next week, let us hope that there could be, I'm just hoping that there would be some sort of a common ground that would be found. Second week
Absolutely.
In a row.
Today is already Thursday. Just one more day of legislation is left. We'll have to wait and see if anything happens there, or else we're going to hope that something's going to happen next week. But Megha's absolutely right that the centre may have reached out to the opposition, but when it comes to Pegasus, doesn't seem like there's going to be a probe or any kind of a discussion, the speech. We'll have to wait and see if there's any kind of a deadlock or a consensus over it. And that really has been the issue which has stalled the parliament so far. Thank you so much, Megha. But with that, let's move on in the bulletin. But before that, the Prime Minister speaking right now after 1 year of the NEP, the National Education Policy Anniversary.
राज्यों के सम्मानित मुख्यमंत्रीगण, केंद्र सरकार में मेरे साथी मंत्रीगण, राज्यों की शिक्षा मंत्री महोदयगण, विश्वविद्यालय के कुलपति तथा स्कूल एवं कॉलेज एवं अन्य संस्थानों के संस्थाध्यक्ष, मेरे प्रिय विद्यार्थियों एवं शिक्षकों, देवियों और सज्जनों, आप सभी को मेरा सादर अभिनंदन। Today is a momentous day in our history when we mark a year of the launch of one of the most landmark policy reforms in India, the New Education Policy 2020. When the world was at its peak of struggling to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic, our government came up with this transformative policy which will have profound, far-reaching impact on the educational landscape of the country, thereby reshaping the destiny of this nation, both in terms of its internal resilience, resources and strength, and its standing in the world. The importance of this document cannot be emphasized enough for its potential role in building a robust nation. The New Education Policy 2020 stands on the four pillars of quality, equity, access and affordability. themes that run through many of the reforms brought about by the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji. Another significance of the new education policy 2020 is that it has come after one of the largest consultation processes in the history of the educational systems globally. This reflects the resolve and vision of our leadership to situate India at the top of the knowledge economy. As we celebrate Amrita Mahotsav, or 75 years of India's independence, the NEP will be the guiding philosophy that will nurture, inspire, influence and groom children who today fall between the age of 5 and 15 years. The same category of impressionable and valuable human resource will be the peak of productive age of between 30 and 40 years when the India hits the mark of 100 years of independence, or Azadi 100. New Education Policy 2020 prepares this age group as global citizens who exhibit the keen disposition to shoulder collective responsibilities in the face of natural disasters or finding solutions for issues that confront humanity as a whole, solutions that cut across boundaries of culture. The resilience and survival of civilization is a direct consequence of the clarity of thought and its possible people. New education policy prepares our youth to be the flag bearers of a global community which bases itself on scientific thought, critical thinking and humanism. This is the PM Modi's vision and government's mission that we will try to best of our capabilities to implement in letter and spirit. I also take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Kasturi Rangan and the team of superior intellectuals and academics who drafted this landmark document. I again thank Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji for his presence today and his persistent guidance to the education sector. Sir, I welcome you to this program. Thank you.
धन्यवाद सर। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय, आपकी अनुमति से राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के अंतर्गत अब तक की उपलब्धियों पर एक लघु फिल्म प्रस्तुत है।
29 जुलाई 2020 को भारत सरकार 34 वर्षों के अंतराल के बाद एक नई राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति लेकर आई। उद्देश्य था नई पीढ़ी को नई सदी की मांग के अनुरूप योग्य बनाना।
ये पॉलिसी 21वीं सदी के नौजवानों की सोच, उनकी जरूरतें, उनकी आशाओं, अपेक्षाओं और आकांक्षाओं को देखते हुए बनाने का व्यापक प्रयास हुआ है।
राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति में ऑनलाइन शिक्षा को प्राथमिकता और प्रोत्साहन दोनों दिया गया है, जिसके सफल परिणाम कोरोना महामारी के दौरान भी सामने आए। पीएम ई विद्या कार्यक्रम के अंतर्गत ऑनलाइन, टेलीविजन एवं कम्युनिटी रेडियो के माध्यम से पढ़ना लिखना चालू रहा। वन नेशन वन डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म से प्रेरित दीक्षा में स्कूल पाठ्यक्रम पर आधारित 1,85,000 से अधिक ई कंटेंट 32 भाषाओं में उपलब्ध किए गए। एक वर्ष में इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर हिट्स की संख्या 200 करोड़ से बढ़कर 2300 करोड़ हो गई है। जेईई एंड नीट की ऑनलाइन परीक्षाएं भी हुई, जिससे किसी विद्यार्थी का कोई सत्र व्यर्थ नहीं होने दिया गया।
अभी नया सिस्टम आ गया, ऑनलाइन क्लासेस होने लगी है, तो जो हम स्कूल नहीं जा पा रहे थे, अब हम वो घर से पढ़ सकते हैं।
यूजीसी ने ऑनलाइन शिक्षण के नए दिशा निर्देश जारी किए। ऑनलाइन कार्यक्रमों की संख्या अब 37 से बढ़कर 216 और संस्थाओं की संख्या 7 से बढ़कर अब 41 हो गई है। ऑनलाइन शिक्षण के लिए निर्मित स्वयं MOOCs पोर्टल, जिस पर वर्तमान में 814 डिग्री और डिप्लोमा कोर्स उपलब्ध हैं। गत वर्ष में 54 लाख छात्रों ने उस पर एनरोलमेंट कराया। इस नई नीति से भारत में पढ़ने आए विदेशी बच्चों को भी हमारी सुदृढ़ व्यवस्था का लाभ मिला है।
I'm from Cameroon. I'm very thankful for the government of India to give me the opportunity to pass off my education here in this great university.
एक तरफ निष्ठा के अंतर्गत लगभग 24 लाख प्रारंभिक स्तर के शिक्षकों को प्रशिक्षित किया गया है, तो गत एक वर्ष में स्किल डेवलपमेंट मंत्रालय द्वारा 1 लाख स्वास्थ्य कर्मचारियों को भी प्रशिक्षित किया। राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के अंतर्गत सार्थक की रचना हुई, जो स्कूली शिक्षा में राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के सुचारू क्रियान्वयन के लिए एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव एक्शन प्लान है। इसी नीति द्वारा राष्ट्रीय अभियान निपुण भारत की भी शुरुआत की गई, जिसका लक्ष्य बच्चों को समझ के साथ पढ़ने और बुनियादी गणना की क्षमता को खेल खेल में विकसित करना है। स्कूल बैग के वजन और होमवर्क को कम करने के लिए दिशा निर्देश दिए गए और बच्चों के मानसिक स्वास्थ्य और तनाव से संबंधित समस्याओं का समाधान करने के लिए मनोदर्पण पोर्टल और हेल्पलाइन नंबर भी लॉन्च किया गया है। राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति में कक्षा 6 से ही कोडिंग, डेटा साइंस, फाइनेंशियल लिटरेसी और हैंडीक्राफ्ट के वोकेशनल कोर्सेज को भी शामिल किया गया है और कक्षा 10वीं और 12वीं के लिए सीबीएसई द्वारा कॉम्पिटेंसी बेस्ड एग्जाम्स की चरणबद्ध तरीके से शुरुआत की गई है। गत एक वर्ष में उच्च शिक्षा संस्थाओं ने कोविड संबंधी अनेकों शोध अनुसंधान किए और हमारे कई संस्थानों की ग्लोबल रैंकिंग में सुधार हुआ है। एक तरफ जहां राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति भारत के शिक्षार्थियों को विश्व से जोड़ती है, तो वहीं दूसरी तरफ उनमें एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत की अवधारणा को भी सशक्त करती है, नए भारत की आत्मा को प्राथमिकता देती और हमारी युवाओं को 21वीं सदी में अपनी पहचान बनाने के लिए तैयार कर रही है नई शिक्षा नीति।
अब मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कि वो शिक्षा नीति के अंतर्गत लिए गए हमारे कुछ पहलों का कृपया बटन दबाकर उद्घाटन करें।
विद्या प्रवेश कक्षा 1 की तैयारी को सुनिश्चित करने के लिए राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के सुझावों पर NCERT द्वारा बच्चों के लिए 3 माह का स्कूल प्रिपरेशन मॉड्यूल विद्या प्रवेश तैयार किया गया है। इस पाठ्यक्रम में अक्षर, ध्वनि, शब्द, रंग, आकार और संख्या सीखने के लिए रोचक गतिविधियां हैं। इसके द्वारा बच्चों की पूर्व साक्षरता, पूर्व गणना और सामाजिक कौशल का विकास होगा। विद्या प्रवेश का लक्ष्य है शिक्षा के प्रारंभ से ही आधारशिला को मजबूत करना, ताकि सब समान रूप से समझ सकें, पढ़ सकें और बढ़ सकें।
इंडियन साइन लैंग्वेज। पहचान कर मेरी सीमाएं और सामर्थ्य। किताब और अधिगम सामग्री अब उपलब्ध है भारतीय भाषाओं के समक्ष, भारतीय सांकेतिक भाषा में भी।
सभी विद्यार्थियों और शिक्षकों के लिए ISLRTC, NIOS और NCERT ने कक्षा 1 से 12 तक के 1200 से भी ज्यादा शैक्षिक वीडियो कार्यक्रमों को भारतीय सांकेतिक भाषा में बनाया है, जो दीक्षा मंच पर उपलब्ध हैं।
अब मैं हूँ सबके साथ और सब है मेरे साथ।
निष्ठा 2.0 दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा शिक्षक प्रशिक्षण कार्यक्रम, ताकि शिक्षक बच्चों की प्रतिभा को परखकर विकसित कर सकें। प्राथमिक स्तर पर शिक्षकों के प्रशिक्षण के बाद अब निष्ठा अपने नवनिर्मित 68 मॉड्यूल द्वारा माध्यमिक स्तर के 10 लाख शिक्षकों को प्रशिक्षित करने के लिए तैयार और प्रतिबद्ध है। निष्ठा 2.0 स्कूल प्रमुखों और शिक्षकों की समग्र प्रगति को सुनिश्चित करने हेतु राष्ट्रीय पहल। सफल स्ट्रक्चर्ड असेसमेंट फॉर एनालाइजिंग लर्निंग। CBSE के 25,000 स्कूल्स के ग्रेड 3, 5 और 8 के 50 लाख बच्चों के लिए तैयार किया गया है। इस कॉम्पिटेंसी बेस्ड असेसमेंट सफल में बच्चों का कोर कॉन्सेप्ट्स, एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस, हाई ऑर्डर थिंकिंग स्किल्स द्वारा आंकलन किया जाएगा।
आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस नई दुनिया का एक ईंधन है। भारत की AI रणनीति AI फॉर ऑल की सोच पर बनाई गई है। भारत सरकार की शिक्षा मंत्रालय द्वारा 2020 में जारी की गई राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति भारत को सही मायने में AI रेडी बनाने के लिए AI स्किल्स के महत्व की पुष्टि करती है। भारतीय शिक्षा मंत्रालय, केंद्रीय माध्यमिक शिक्षा बोर्ड और इंटेल इंडिया आपके लिए लाए हैं AI फॉर ऑल। इस कार्यक्रम को लगभग 4 घंटों में पूरा किया जा सकता है और ये 11 भारतीय भाषाओं में उपलब्ध है और दृष्टिबाधित लोगों के लिए भी उपलब्ध है। और दृष्टिबाधित लोगों के लिए भी उपलब्ध है।
अब मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से एक बार फिर अनुरोध करूंगा कि वे हमारे कुछ अन्य पहलों का कृपया बटन दबाकर उद्घाटन करें।
Academic Bank of Credit, academic flexibility, multidisciplinary, distributed teaching learning, and multiple entry and multiple exit के सिद्धांतों पर आधारित क्रेडिट को डिजिटल से संकलित और ट्रांसफर करने की एक व्यवस्था है, जिसके लिए यूजीसी द्वारा रेगुलेशंस जारी किए गए हैं। ये एक डिजिटल बैंक की तरह काम करेगा, जिसमें छात्र एकेडमिक अकाउंट खोलेंगे, जिसमें उनके द्वारा अर्जित क्रेडिट्स जमा किए जाएंगे। छात्र अपने खाते में जमा क्रेडिट का उपयोग डिग्री लेने में कर पाएंगे। यूजीसी द्वारा मल्टीपल एंट्री एंड मल्टीपल एग्जिट के लिए भी दिशा निर्देश जारी किए गए हैं।
नई शिक्षा नीति का उद्देश्य छात्रों के समग्र विकास को सुनिश्चित करना है। AICTE ने 11 क्षेत्रीय भाषाओं में अनुवाद के लिए आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस बेस्ड सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलप किया है। शिक्षा को सभी की पहुंच में लाने के लिए इस सॉफ्टवेयर के माध्यम से क्षेत्रीय भाषाओं में पाठ्यक्रम तैयार किए गए हैं।
इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन ऑफ हायर एजुकेशन। भारतीय और विदेशी उच्च शिक्षण संस्थानों के बीच परस्पर सहयोग बढ़े। इसके लिए यूजीसी ने क्रेडिट ट्रांसफर के साथ उच्च शिक्षण संस्थानों के बीच ट्विनिंग व्यवस्था के लिए दिशा निर्देश तैयार किए हैं। इससे जहां हमारे छात्रों को ग्लोबल स्तर की शिक्षा का लाभ मिलेगा, वहीं विदेशी छात्रों के आने से विश्व पटल पर हमारी संस्थाओं की साख बढ़ेगी।
NDEAR, नेशनल डिजिटल एजुकेशन आर्किटेक्चर, डिजिटल फर्स्ट की सोच पर आधारित शिक्षा का सबसे बड़ा डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर होगा। ये ओपन सोर्स और ओपन स्टैंडर्ड पर आधारित होगा, ताकि राज्य, केंद्र शासित प्रदेश, प्राइवेट एंटरप्रेन्योर्स इस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का इस्तेमाल करके इनोवेटिव फ्यूचर रेडी एजुकेशन सॉल्यूशन बनाएंगे। ये एक ऐसा डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है जहां टीचिंग, लर्निंग, प्लानिंग और गवर्नेंस को एक साथ जोड़ा जाएगा, जिसका लाभ देश के हर स्कूल से लेकर कॉलेज के विद्यार्थी, शिक्षक समुदाय और अभिभावक ले सकेंगे। डिजिटल भारत में शिक्षा पर सबका समान अधिकार हो, इस दिशा में क्रांतिकारी प्रयास है NDEAR, स्कूल शिक्षा विभाग तथा IT मंत्रालय द्वारा तैयार किया गया नेशनल डिजिटल एजुकेशन आर्किटेक्चर। नेशनल एजुकेशनल टेक्नोलॉजी फोरम शिक्षा के विभिन्न आयामों में टेक्नोलॉजी के इस्तेमाल के लिए एक राष्ट्रीय मंच का निर्माण है। NETF प्रशासन, शिक्षण, मूल्यांकन, नियोजन आदि आयामों में टेक्नोलॉजी के उपयोग पर केंद्रीय एवं राज्य सरकार को परामर्श देगा। NETF शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, मशीन लर्निंग, ब्लॉकचेन टेक्नोलॉजी और अन्य प्रकार के सॉफ्टवेयर द्वारा KG से PG तक शिक्षण और सीखने के तरीके में रचनात्मक बदलाव लाएगा, ताकि देश 21वीं सदी में वर्ल्ड एजुकेशन लीडर के रूप में छलांग लगा सके।
Now I request Honorable Prime Minister to address this August digital gathering. Honorable Prime Minister.
नमस्कार। कार्यक्रम में मेरे साथ जुड़ रहे कैबिनेट के मेरे सभी सहयोगीगण, राज्यों के माननीय राज्यपाल, सभी सम्मानित मुख्यमंत्री, उप मुख्यमंत्री, राज्य सरकारों के मंत्रीगण, उपस्थित शिक्षाविद, अध्यापकगण, सभी अभिभावक और मेरे प्रिय युवा साथियों, नई राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति को 1 साल पूरा होने पर सभी देशवासियों और विशेषकर सभी विद्यार्थियों को बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। बीते 1 वर्ष में देश के आप सभी महानुभावों, शिक्षकों, प्रधानाचार्यों, नीतिकारों ने राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति को धरातल पर उतारने में बहुत मेहनत की है। कोरोना के इस काल में भी लाखों नागरिकों से, शिक्षकों, राज्यों, ऑटोनॉमस बॉडीज से सुझाव लेकर टास्क फोर्स बनाकर नई शिक्षा नीति का चरणबद्ध तरीके से लागू किया जा रहा है। बीते 1 वर्ष में राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति को आधार बनाकर अनेक बड़े फैसले लिए गए हैं। आज इसी कड़ी में मुझे बहुत सारी नई योजनाएं, नए इनिशिएटिव्स, इसकी शुरुआत करने का सौभाग्य मिला है। साथियों, ये महत्वपूर्ण अवसर ऐसे समय में आया है जब देश आजादी के 75 साल का अमृत महोत्सव मना रहा है। आज से कुछ ही दिन बाद 15 अगस्त को हम आजादी के 75वें साल में प्रवेश भी करने जा रहे हैं। एक तरह से नई राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव का प्रमुख हिस्सा बन गया है। इतने बड़े महापर्व के बीच राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के तहत आज शुरू हुई योजनाएं नए भारत के निर्माण में बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभाएगी। भारत के जिस सुनहरे भविष्य के संकल्प के साथ आज हम आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव मना रहे हैं, उस भविष्य की ओर हमें आज की नई पीढ़ी ही ले जाएगी। भविष्य हम कितना आगे जाएंगे, कितनी ऊंचाई प्राप्त करेंगे, ये इस बात पर निर्भर करेगा कि हम अपने युवाओं को वर्तमान में यानी आज कैसी शिक्षा दे रहे हैं, कैसी दिशा दे रहे हैं। इसलिए मैं मानता हूं भारत